Today I want us to talk about dominating this year and being able to dominate in our different assignments and the things that we are called to do in life, okay? How do we dominate? I know that at the beginning of this year we talked about dominating, and I remember I talked about one of the most crucial things was dominating yourself, okay? Dominating yourself, not dominating anything else, because when someone tells you to dominate, you're thinking, I'm going to get her and dominate her, or I'm going to go and dominate an industry. But there is no industry you're going to dominate. There is no workplace you're going to dominate. There is no place you're going to dominate without dominating yourself. And if you remember, the statement that I made is, you are the common denominator in all the years that you have lived. You are the common denominator. So if there is anything that is not working, we are not checking anywhere else. We are checking us first. You know, we love pointing fingers. We love telling others how they have contributed to our delay, how they have contributed to this, you know, all those things. But you realize that even when someone contributes to your delay, you are the one that permits the delay. That means you have an upper hand. So if you're the common denominator, that means we have to go back and be able to understand. When I say dominate over yourself, I didn't explain it, and today I want us to be able to explain it, okay? Because how you dominate over yourself is understanding that there are things that I do not have, that have locked me up in one place, and yet I need to be able to get unstuck and be able to move. And if I asked a question, so many of us will tell me, because we're about to start the public speaking classes, but so many of us will tell me that, you know what, my confidence is a bit shaky. So you realize that in order to dominate over yourself, you have to have confidence. And confidence is not just the confidence to show up. Sometimes it's the confidence to make decisions. Sometimes it's the confidence to quit certain things. Sometimes it's the confidence to lock certain doors. So the confidence, and I explained confidence as the womb that gives birth to motivation, to risk-taking, to resilience, and better decision-making. Confidence. It is the womb. It is a womb. When I call it a womb, like it joins so many things in it. We can't just isolate it, because it contributes to so many areas of our lives. And it's possible that you are confident in one area of your life. For example, you can be in front of the camera and speak, but when they tell you to negotiate your worth, you walk away. Right? When they tell you to be consistent or to change and be yourself. For example, we have talked about changing the kinds of content that we do, and we have said that, you know what, authenticity is selling a lot more. People want to see the real you. They don't want to feel like there's a filter. They don't want to feel like you are the expert and the guru of everything. They want to see the raw you, the one that is growing, the one that has flaws, the one who things beat down, the one who fails. That is the person that people want to see, because things have changed. We no longer believe in perfection. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, we believed that every coach had to be very perfect. But these days, when you tell people that you have been divorced 5 times, you will be the one that they come to for marital advice, because they're like, by the time you have gone through this and gone through this and gone through this. That is why people no longer fear talking about themselves. They are getting so vulnerable. And they are sharing all their failures, all their vulnerability, and guess what? People are not leaving them. Because back then, in the days of having counselors and mature women taking control and helping others, they used to audit their lives so much that you would not know what was happening. So it's after some time that we actually discovered that most of the singers were not married, and they were the ones telling the young girls about marriage. But it's after a very long time that people discovered that. Otherwise, everyone thought whoever was talking about marriage was actually married. You get it? And it was prohibited. You would not talk about your flaws, because people believe that if you're a people helper, you should be very, very, very intact. Okay? You should be very exemplary. And you should be, that's why some of them, Gundi, Bufumba Walema, don't go there. Gundi, you get it? But you realize in this age and era, when someone tells you to be transparent or vulnerable with your life, that takes confidence. To say, you know what? If you want to run. If you don't want to stay with me, if you want to build a community with me, because so many of us are going to be community builders. That is how we are going to monetize our brands. That is how we are going to get more people impacted and influence more people. But you realize the start of it all, the womb that we have talked about. The womb that is a birth to motivation. It gives birth to motivation. It gives birth to risk-taking. It gives birth to resilience. It gives birth to a better decision in your life. Because not having confidence means that you're going to be codependent the rest of your life. You're going to procrastinate for the rest of your life, and you're going to be indecisive for the rest of your life. Now, if we had not taken the prayer requests, I would never have known that what I prepared to speak was actually in alignment with what we were actually talking about. I don't know whether you see it. Okay? But it's so easy for someone to talk about, you have to have confidence, but you don't go deep to understand what confidence does and what lack of confidence does. Because so many of us are fighting procrastination. And especially about the things that help us and benefit us. Do you know that you never procrastinate on things that do not help you? You can never procrastinate. I don't know, they seem to be so automatic. They seem to be like someone just presses a button and you just find yourself banging KB. Like it's so easy. But when it comes to saying, you know what, I really feel like I need to change my wardrobe. Do you know that maybe some people started this year saying, I need to change my wardrobe to dress the part, to dress like the brand that I am building. And guess what? People are going to get to May and they have never changed their wardrobes. People will say, I'm going to declutter. And then they are going to get to mid-year. And then people will be starting, you know, you have 6 months remaining, and you'll be like, we have 6 months remaining. Like it comes as a shock. Why? Because when you lack confidence, because confidence is not just displayed to others. Confidence is supposed to be displayed to you first. Where you stand your ground, you put your foot down on yourself and say, you know what? We are not doing this. And say, whether we feel like it, we're not going to do things according to our emotions or how we feel, but we are going to do what we think is the right thing. That, you know what, every beginning of year, we are supposed to have a photo shoot so that the brand deals that come, people will know that they have a fresh look of you and you're not using pictures from 5 years ago. And people will still procrastinate on calling the studio, packing two different clothes, a change of clothes, going to a studio, and even posing, they will feel not confident. How many of you have gone to a studio and you just didn't feel good enough to pose? You swung around, you looked, and you're like, no, what should I do? And they're like, no, just do anything. And then you brought those poses of long time ago. Do you know those poses of I missed you last night? I don't know whether you knew them. Me, I knew them. Those long ago pictures, the car leg will be there. And you're like, no, you're a brand. You're supposed to pose a certain way. You're supposed to give, to vibrate, to send signals. You're supposed to be warm, welcoming, inviting, that whoever sees that picture will be like, yeah, I think I would love to go and hear her speak. I was seeing one of the posters where Adele was posted as a speaker, and I was like, this looks more like it. That was beautiful. So you see, confidence goes into the intricate fiber of our beings and our existence. It is not just a top thing of you speaking or not speaking, or you standing up for yourself. We said if you're not confident, you're going to be codependent for the rest of your life. That means you're counting on others to help you, because you can't help yourself. You have surrendered that, you know what, I think I am disabled. We declare ourselves disabled. You're like, I think I am disabled and I cannot make this decision. And yet, let me tell you, sometimes it's better to make a decision and fail and learn from it and fail again, okay, than to just be indecisive, because indecision is a decision. If you don't decide, you have already made a decision. Right? Okay? So when it comes to confidence, you have to be, even self-belief comes from confidence. You know, you believing in yourself and saying that, you know what, it is, I can do this. That is self-confidence. And sometimes we count so much on other people believing in us, or even God believing in us. We know that already. God believes in us. He believes in everyone. He created us in his image. He said we are wonderfully and powerfully made. I mean, your children, don't you believe in your children? Like, seriously, you look at them and you see superstars. Even when they are not. You see, we all see our children as superstars. But sometimes you look at other people's children and go, no, abali kubichi. Their parent is seeing them as a superstar. But the thing is, there is this thing about growing up and us losing our self-esteem and the belief in ourselves, that now we start holding on to others, that if it's not a relationship, I don't believe I'm good enough, because if this person goes, that means it actually proves to me that I am that bad and I am not any good. Some of us have held on to jobs. Maybe it's not paying you that well, or you have narcissistic bosses or toxic bosses, or it's just a toxic environment. But you hold on for dear life because you're like, where do I go? Isn't that lack of confidence? So you end up being codependent. You are using other people as crutches. Where they are, you can't. Some of us can't even take ourselves out for a meal. You have to call a friend, a certain friend, and you're like, this friend is the Chibakulo. She's the one who will go anywhere, say anything, be lively. But now I go, Kati, I start sitting alone, and then I ask for something to eat. I know some of you have faced that, but there is a point of maturity you get at, and everything becomes so easy. After you've worked on yourself, like everything just becomes a walkover. You never believe that I was ever in a place where I didn't believe in myself enough. And sometimes, when we draw that, the reason as to why we don't believe in ourselves is we tell ourselves lies, okay? We tell ourselves lies according to where we come from, the people that have grown us up, or the failures that we have had before. So you're like, I've had this series of failures. What tells me that I'm going to be a winner all of a sudden? What tells me that all of a sudden I have failed at this and this and this, and you have all these evidences. What tells me that I'm going to build a brand? What tells me that I'm actually going to build this business if I have failed in other things? But you can fail in 1,001 things, and still there will be one thing that you are very good at. But my problem is when you tell yourself a lie, it becomes a truth in your eyes and in your system. The more you tell yourself the lie, it becomes the truth. You believe in that. And when you believe in that, have you ever seen a beautiful person believing they're ugly? And they will do all sorts of things to prove to you that I am ugly. But I'm not the judge of ugly and beautiful. Have you ever seen a person on your scale that you don't call beautiful, but when they're shining like a star, because of how they are carrying themselves, and you're like, where do they get this audacity? Like, where? My goodness. Someone will put on either black lipstick or something you have never dreamt about. You will look at them and you will look at them again and be like, but the way they carry themselves, as in they're unapologetic and they are not asking for validation. Do you know that sometimes we ask for validation without asking for it? The way you sit, the way you look, the way, and someone even feels bad. Me, I feel bad for people that ask for validation without asking for it, because I can smell it from miles away. I look at you and I can sense you don't feel good about your hair. You don't feel good about everything about you. You feel like, I wish I could just edit myself all of a sudden. I wish there was a natural filter. I could just do like this, and all of a sudden that filter comes and puts itself on mine. Guess what? You're not about to change. The only change that is going to happen is the change that you do. Right? And when you stop telling yourself the lies and you actually face the truth and ask yourself, what do I need to put emphasis on? Do I need to change my dressing? What do I need to do? Then you have taken power. Now you are dominating. Now you're saying, this confidence must be built, whether I am going to self-affirm, whether I am going to use confessions, whatever it is, I am going to do everything in my power to make sure that I actually build this confidence. Okay? And how to build a confidence? Number one, you feed yourself with things that build the confidence. You feed yourself. Number one is feeding. We have entry points. Our eyes, our mouth, like we have entry points. So if you are feeding yourself, what you are feeding yourself on is very, very crucial. Because confidence must be built and then it must be protected. Confidence must be built and it must be protected. When you build confidence, you don't have confidence forever. No, you will have confidence and then you will be exposed to a new territory and you will feel like you are the grasshopper in that territory. I don't know whether, just imagine Coach Haruna, you just leave this place and you go to an international factory owners or, you know, people that manufacturers. Here in Kampala, over Chikuba. And all of a sudden, now you find yourself that, okay, you said, you know what, this year I really want to grow, and now there is this platform in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, and you go. And guess what? From the shirt that you put on to the trouser that you put on to the cards that you printed in Kampala, you feel like you should disappear. Like the soil should just part and it should swallow you. Because you just feel like you look at soap brands. Have you guys traveled and you have looked at soap brands? Until you felt like this soap brand looks like food, like if they placed it on a plate, I would eat it. And you just feel, and people are like, okay, so show us some of the samples that you have done. And you just feel like, you know, please don't ask for the samples. And sometimes you'll be like, you know, I forgot them in the car. I left them in the hotel room. I'll bring them tomorrow. So that means that at every single level that we get at and every single exposure that we get at, there must be a rebuilding of a confidence and then a protection of the confidence. So you don't just build confidence and say, I have confidence forever. The reason as to why so many people become arrogant instead of confident is because they failed to protect or to even build that confidence, and now they have to resort to crude means of showing everyone, I got it. You should see me. And this affects the internal dialogue. The internal dialogue. I told you that to get to where I am, I have been a believer. I don't know since when, but ever since my childhood, I believed in the life that I am living right now, that I never believed any single day that I would fail. Now, I don't know what happened, but I think I hated poverty with everything that caused poverty, because I was in like the worst poverty ever. But even in that poverty, I believed that my life was never meant to be there. My life was meant to be totally different. And when you believe, when you feed your mind, and I've said this so many times, that even when I was in those bubanda, selling those tomatoes and selling those, smelling of onions, all I was thinking that one day, life, I am going to build on an acre of land, a personal house. I am going to do some of these things. I am going to travel the world. Now just imagine a girl who smells onions, a girl who thinks that maybe even at 16 they are going to marry me off to the next guy because maybe they have money. But they have the audacity to dream in places where it was very hopeless. Now, some of us are even somewhere in life, but we have constantly cultivated lack of self-belief and lack of confidence in our lives. Because what you believe, you attract. If you believe that I am going to be this star, I am going to be this brand, that everyone, I'm going to be a solution and people are going to be attracted to me, you will concentrate on the building. You will not concentrate on the fighting. You will not concentrate on the comparison. You will not concentrate on who is building what, bigger what, and glamorous what. You will be like, you know what, I'm in my lane, and I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. When they called me, when I was building this brand, they invited me to radio stations at midnight, at 11. I remember my first show was at Bob FM. No, actually, it was Spirit, before Bob. And they gave me an hour that was at 11. I'm a young girl who doesn't have transport, but they've given me airtime. And so, because they asked me, what do you want to do? And they told me to choose between money and to give you airtime. And I was a young girl who was in luck, who didn't have what to eat. Her family didn't have what to eat. But guess what? I stood and said, I need the radio show. Who chooses a radio show over money? Like, seriously. Someone is giving you, that is more than 20 years ago, someone is giving you 300,000 20 years ago. And they're saying choose between 300,000 and a radio show. And I'm saying I'll take a radio show. And I don't know where the transport is going to come from. And so many times no one knew, but I had to foot from Chireka to come to Namirembe to make sure that I do my show. And guess what? Because do you know that if you don't have the confidence, you don't have the reason to keep going? Because the reason you keep going is you have confidence that tomorrow is going to be better than today. And remember, that was the first part of my life. I had just gone through a very fresh heartbreak, a very fresh that you could even smell from 1,000 miles away. But guess what? I used the pain to build me. Instead of wallowing in my pain, instead of losing motivation, instead of thinking like all the other girls, most girls in Kampala think that you have to get under a man in order to get over a man, I got under my purpose. And I was like, you know what? I'm becoming a mechanic. I got under my purpose, Nenji Kanika. I had to foot, I had to, you know where you have to say, you know what? I really have to make it there. Now, if I really have to ask, what can I do? I had to ask, what can I do in order to earn some money? So if you gave me anything to do, even if it was cleaning, I was on the floor cleaning to get money so that I can go and do the radio show. And guess what? The radio show, or that radio show, I don't know how much money it has made me up until today. I have people who call me from organizations telling me they listened to Spirit FM, and that is where. How did I go to NTV to have a show on NTV? It came from Spirit. But I think when they were asking, you know, who is the best relationship coach around Kampala? Like, there is this woman. This woman speaks, you know, used to tell me that your boldness, we don't know, they are not your years. But I believe it was the grace, and that every day I did not have the data to even research. But remember what pushed me, my pain was birthed out of, my purpose was birthed out of pain. That I saw the brokenness in my family. I saw firsthand what a narcissist was. I saw firsthand what toxicity did. I saw firsthand what a broken family does to children. I saw firsthand, so I spoke about my pain, and I sought to help a person who was going through my pain. And everything else is history. But the thing is, I believed in myself so much to put one foot in front of the other. I could have aborted this dream. I could have aborted this dream. And how many people would never have received the help that they needed because I aborted a dream? Because when the gets tough, most people, the best decision is you don't have the confidence to go on. Because some people rely on the money, some people rely on their friends, some people. But what happens when you have no one to rely on? When you are alone, and you know, let me tell you, no one should ever lie to you that you'll be in a crossroad and you will be with the people in a crossroad. No, you will be alone in the crossroad. Your spouse will be snoring while you are turning and thinking what to do next. Your best friends will be partying. And sometimes they will invite you and you have to put on your best face, like you're not at the crossroad. You know, when you're at the crossroad, there is a way you're squinting your eyes, there's a way you're counting your fingers, there's a way, like you're trying to make the math. But it's just not adding up. But you have to show up in other instances. So make sure that you feed yourself. Community. Make sure that you feed yourself the things that you listen to. Who are you listening to? That is very crucial. Because when they believe, who are you close to? Because proximity also, when you rub shoulders with people who are very negative, before you know it, you also start being pessimistic. But when you rub shoulders with people who are very positive, you start by asking yourself, where do they get this hope from? Before you know it, it has started rubbing onto you. Whenever you get things stuck, you go and ask from them. You're like, you know what? You're the one who believes things are really figure-outable. Can we figure this out? Before you know it, they are giving. It's like my husband. That one is a positive machine. He believes everything is doable. Even when you are stuck, I can be stuck. And we have shows between me and my husband, just the two of us. You know, when you come with your issue and you're thinking, agenda kugamba, you know what? I don't think that is actually possible. And then he will sit down and give you 10 different ways, 10 different options of how to do it. Now, I ride so much on his positivity because by the virtue of the fact that I have grown up from all these things, I'm still a recovering negative thinker because you're still thinking, what if? What if? What if? And he's thinking, no way. This is where we are headed and this is what we are doing. So me teaming up with him for the past 20-something years has changed so much. His influence has changed so much about me that I am no longer the other person. Right now, I believe everything is doable. When I say that everything is, I can figure out everything. Just even if it's a job that I have never done, give it to me, and in the next 20 minutes, I'll be giving you results better than the people that have done it for the past 10 years. Because I believe everything can be figured out, and that is confidence. And I think it's yesterday that I was telling him, we were talking about certain issues that had happened in one of our companies, and I was telling him, let me tell you, one thing that I thank God for is, I believe that there is a favor on my life. That even if I went to a place and I was the listeners nga nebuzabuziza nga nyambadde ekikutiya nga nekwese nga no one knows about me, in 2 minutes I will be up there and I will be advising everyone. Now I don't know how that happens. It's not in my, because if it were up to me, I'll be usually the backbenchers. I don't know how many of you love being backbenchers, but if it were up to me, I don't like being in the front. I actually don't like, and I've usually told you I'm an introvert. And most people don't believe because they're like, which introvert speaks like that? But if it were up to me, I would be at the back of every line, minding my own business. But there is a way God surprises me, and all the time he picks up on me, even when I don't want to be picked up. When I say, maybe you pick the other one, and I will find myself being picked on. And I'm like, you know what? I can't. There is that song that says, like it's just on you. It's hovering over you that it cannot hide. But how is that created? The confidence. The confidence. When you see a person that is confident, has someone ever come to Mukolo and they're overly confident that you find yourself giving them the front seat, and yet they are nowhere supposed to be on the front seat. But the way they walk in, the aura they carry, the kind of confidence, the kind of energy, the kind of dressing, as in you even feel like, temulaba. And everyone looks and they see, clearly, they can see the energy that has come. What is that? Confidence. But you can come nga gwo mugenyi omukulu. And like they even give you a back seat somewhere. They will even tell you that, are you lost? I don't think this is where you belong. But this is where I belong. And they will have to call 5 people to confirm whether this is where you belong. But why? Because when a person is fearful, when they don't have confidence, you can see them. They are timid. They put their hearts on their sleeves. Like you can clearly see that they're afraid, they're intimidated, they're like a grasshopper. You remember the story of Joshua going to spy the land and saying, the people in Canaan, they have 6 fingers and they have 6 feet. They are told they can swallow us alive. Like we are grasshoppers in their eyes. But remember, the promised land had already been given to them. But now they're bringing the report and saying we are grasshoppers. And it's possible that not all of them believed the same, but when the talk started, have you seen the guy? Have you seen how tall he is? I think some of them, as in from that talk, you remember how COVID was? What explains the whole world counting the number of dead people? If it were not to make the lack of confidence and negativity contagious. Because the moment you started hearing in Kampala, the death toll is rising, definitely you lose confidence even in the things that were working. Do you know that some of us, when you have confidence in a certain type of medicine, or a person that is giving you medicine, even when they don't give you medicine to treat whatever it is, they will put something in water, shake it, and tell you to drink it, and it will be nothing, but you will be healed. Why is that? Confidence. Okay? So I need us to expound, in your own time, expound what confidence means to you. What areas in your life? Is it about going live, where you have to press a button and go live and say, hey guys, I am here. I don't know what we are going to talk about, but please give me a clue. Because half the time we think we should be the experts and bring people what we want to talk about. But when you bring a Chibozi, do you know that you can be live and you will have more following when you don't have prepared notes than one who has prepared notes? You come on and tell them, you know what, let's cook together. Haven't you seen those lives? And how many people are on those lives? Thousands. Let's cook together. And is there? And they're speaking like they're there. But they have thousands of people following. Guess what? You come with your list of points. But we can read that you are intimidated. We can read that you're not confident. We can read that you're not vulnerable. You are not yourself. You're not authentic. So whoever reaches on your live scrolls next. And then they will go to someone who is just dancing or minding their business. And people who are confident, you will press a camera in front of you and you will mind your business. You will be taking your notes. You will be arranging things. And guess what? We love snooping into people's lives. How many of you love snooping? We love snooping into people's lives. You will stay on a live where someone is not saying anything, but they're busy working in their office, they're arranging this, they're arranging that, and then you will find someone who is saying, today we are going to talk about mental health, and point number 1, and then, or we are going to talk about depression, and point number 1. And then all of a sudden it's like, and guess what? They will not stay for a very long time. Why? Because that the heart wants to run out of your heart. Like you are very intimidated. No one wants to listen to anyone that is intimidated. No one wants to listen to a coward. Everyone wants to listen to someone. That is why I usually say storytelling, being woven into your speaking. As in, it's the best way, because no one can ever live your story and no one has ever lived your story. So if you're speaking your truth, no one of us is refuting it. But if you're bringing us the facts that we can Google on Google, we will say that is not how the quote was written. That is not the person that wrote the quote. As in, we will have something to say. Why? Because you have given us the leeway to say it. Because you look intimidated. Okay? So we must build confidence, but after building the confidence, we must be able to protect it, and we build confidence by being careful what we feed into our lives, because this affects the internal conversation. Okay? And you are the most important person that talks to you. You are the most important person that talks to you. I can say everything, even in the therapy sessions, we can say everything that we want to say. How many videos have you watched of things that you must do? How many screenshots do you have on your phone of things that you have promised yourself to do? But once the internal dialogue is wrong, everything you're going to do is going to be very wrong. Even if I gave you the most motivating speech in the world, the best you can do is shake your head, and then you will go back home worse than you came. Why? Because the moment you have knowledge that you cannot apply, you're actually more dangerous than one who has no knowledge. Have you ever seen people talking about half-baked, half-schooled, half something, or half-cooked food, that it will give you a stomachache? So it's not about pretending that we know. We do not want to pretend. Because confidence is not about pretending. Confidence is about us being who we are, growing ourselves, fortifying ourselves, preparing ourselves for what lies ahead. Because there's an unveiling that is going to happen. There is an acceleration that is going to happen. But when you accelerate a wrong thing, the result is still going to be wrong. When you accelerate the right thing, the result is going to be very good. Why? Because you are accelerating. Just imagine you multiply the good habits that you have. But just when you multiply a bad habit, do you get something good? You don't. So that means how you develop good habits is by adding on to them incrementally. Okay? And that happens even to confidence. That incrementally you increase your confidence and nurture your confidence by the things that you want to be able to do. Okay? Number 2 is filter. Filter out anything that creates doubt in you. Because it's possible that what's creating doubt is you comparing yourself to others. Now they have done that. Now I don't think I'm good enough. Now they are in this kind of life. I don't think, because it's not about who is in what kind of life, and maybe it's kind of life that you're not going to attain it. Remember last week I said that chance happens to all of us. Food is not to the strong. The race is not to the swift, but chance happens to all of us. That means we have a chance, all of us in this room, to build formidable brands, to build fully monetized, profitable brands. That you can be an answer in your niche. That when someone wants someone to consult, that when someone wants to listen to someone, they will even know your name offhand, that they will look for you everywhere and say, you know what, today I just want to listen to her and my day will be sorted. And indeed, every time they come to you, you will be the river of living waters that is flowing with good information. Fortifying, building information, strengthening information, that every time someone is listening to you, there is something to learn. The reason as to why some of us cannot even begin to build the formidable brands is because of the lack of consistency. Today we have something good, tomorrow we have something mediocre. And then when someone lands on your mediocre part, they never want to consume you again. Just imagine, I usually buy samosas. Tim loves samosas. But there are so many times we have gone, I will not talk about those particular shops, where we have gone to buy samosas, and you find that they've had a very good track record. And then this one day, one of their samosas is bad. And when you ask the manager says that, you know what, they are fresh, they've just brought them here 10 minutes ago. Then I start doubting if I will ever eat those samosas again. Because the next time I buy a samosa, I will fear to put it in my mouth, because I will still have the memory of the bad samosa that I ate. Have you ever eaten rice that has stones in it? The moment you eat it, when you take another fork, you are already calculating in your mind, so I wish my tooth does not come in contact with that. So you start moving around the rice because you're hungry. You have to eat it anyway, and then you start swallowing the rice without eating it. Or you abandon the food altogether and say, you know what, let me just eat the sauce. Let me just leave this rice. Some of you have never taken chia seeds that have recently. I bought chia seeds. And after preparing my good smoothie and frozen it so well, 1 spoon was enough for me to take it to the sink and pour it because it was full of stones. You know how chia seeds, you feel the need to be able to crush them? So just imagine you're crushing and your teeth is crushing on a stone. So you don't want to create a brand, Elumira. Because when someone gets to that rough part first, before consuming the good part, they will never know that there is a good part. We will never anticipate. Some of us don't have the patience to give chances, right? We don't have the patience to give chances. That is why I say mentorship is very, very crucial. Because then it bridges the gap so fast that you're able to give. Just imagine if you had to learn to cook on your own. You know what? Just learn. Put tomatoes first before onions. So that you can see what works. How long is it going to take for you to learn to cook? Because then you're going to want to try everything. And you're like, okay, what if I put water first before cooking oil? What if I put... But when you have a mentor, this is when they tell you that, you know what taste do you want? That, you know what? This is the kind of taste that I want of meat. Because a mentor will tell you that meat can be cooked in 5 different ways. But if you want the stew that is good, this is what you do. And they will do it while you are watching them do it. And then you will do it while they are watching you do it. And then they will leave you to do it on your own and wait for the results. What is faster than the other? When someone is holding your hand to help you do it. So that they will tell you, tonaba kujja, tonaba kujisa, tojula. They will tell you that rice, what? I've cooked it for the past 10 minutes, now it's ready. They will tell you, no, my dear, steam it for the next 20 or for the next 30 minutes. That you don't cook open pan rice like that. You give it more time than the closed pan rice. And that is mentorship for you. So sometimes to develop confidence, you need to go on a journey of mentorship so that it can fast track who you were that was supposed to take incremental levels, that now you will take a quantum leap and get to where you wanted to go faster than where you should have taken 10 years reading, doing things that you need to do, trying different things, trial and error until you get it. So mentorship is so crucial because we are saying filter out. Now, when it comes to filtering in mentorship, anyone can be a mentor. But I've shared so many times that there are good qualities of mentors. Number one, a mentor has to have your time. If you have a mentor who does not have time for you and they're on the trajectory of money making, but they're saying, I am running, please chase me. That is not a mentor. Number two, a mentor has to groom you to a level that you can supersede their potential and their abilities. So they have to be able to move that journey with you. So now you must be able to filter out that, you know what, this is not going to build my confidence. Or this, have you ever seen people that we want to learn from, but instead of building, they're breaking our confidence. They're showing us how hard things are, instead of showing us how doable things are. So now you must be able to filter out. Some of us will have to filter out mentors. Some of us will have to filter out the content, the kind of content we follow. Some of us will have to filter out the kind of friends that we have. Okay? We'll have to filter out so many things, okay, in our lives in order to be able to achieve the kind of life and the level of confidence that we want to be able to achieve, okay? If your engagement with a person depletes your faith and confidence, then you have to be able to limit interaction and exposure. I think you've seen some of those people. Your interaction with them, you feel like it depletes you. You interact with someone and you feel drained. So if it does that, you know that I don't have to necessarily eliminate, but I can limit my interaction or my exposure to this person. Could be a show, could be an event, Could be anything that you can choose to talk about. And lastly, I want us to talk about clarity. If you want to live like no one else, you have to be willing to do what nobody else does. Okay? And that means going to greater lengths to achieve clarity. Having clarity is having a clear picture of the desired outcome. Because now we have to be able to learn to connect the dots backwards. That you know what? This is where I want to go. This is the kind of life that I want to be able to live. Now, I was very, very keen on that when I was building my brand. And so many times when I say it, that even after getting out of campus, even all through all my like and everything, the first thing should have been for me to look for employment. I promised myself, because I saw the big picture. Number one, I saw myself, before I even began, I saw myself as one who was going to travel a lot. I saw myself that was going to have crazy schedules, that I would not be able to hold down a job and be able to be answerable to a certain schedule, to a certain boss. And so I decided before time that I was not looking for a job, I was building a private practice. Now, I sounded mad. Because whoever I told I'm building a private practice, they were telling me, a private practice in Kampala, what does that even mean? But because I knew it in my mind, that that is what I wanted, I was willing to live without clarity. Sometimes you don't need to live with a certainty of where you are stepping. That is the risk taking that I am talking about. I had to take a risk that I do not go looking for a job, sign up for a job, sit at a desk, okay? And I'm not saying that it's bad for anyone, but that is what I had clarity about where I was going. So I was connecting my dots backwards. And I have never regretted that decision for the past 17 years. Never regretted it. I think I have lived a fuller life, even when sometimes it was very unpredictable what was going to happen, how much I was going to earn that month, whether I was going to earn that month, but I kept putting one foot in front of the other. And I think I gave you some of the testimonies that I would be invited to a place to speak. I was not even driving, and I would go by border and even have to go behind the building somewhere. NSSF guys, I'm speaking to government guys. Everyone is coming with mpenkoni. And I have come on a border, very strategic, go behind the building, and then you come and speak, and everyone is like, oh my God. And then you have to wait for everyone to disappear because they must not see you going on a border. And then you go on a border and you go back to where you come from. No one knows where you're coming from. In a single room somewhere, before you even graduate to an apartment somewhere. You know, sometimes you can think this journey has not been easy. But the thing is, I'm not telling you that you will start from where I started. And that is why I am here. But are there times where I was very uncertain about where money was going to come from, where I was going to get the rent from, where I was going to... Yes, they were there. But guess what? I kept showing up nonetheless. I would show up and no one would know, would even know that there is nothing. I started by having clients and not having an office. Recently, I posted, I think it was on Twitter, and I said that there was a time I didn't have where to sit people, to even have sessions. And people were willing to pay for the sessions. So I would go from hotel to hotel, I'll go from restaurant to restaurant, and then I would bring them to Namirembe, and we would see, some of them know Canaan restaurant, we would sit in Canaan restaurant somewhere, and then, as in, one thing kept happening after another. It was organic, I did not rush anything, but I am so glad that I endured the seasons that I had to endure in order to build into where I wanted to build. Right now, I have more office space than I can even use. Okay, so you realize that clarity helps you to move, to map out your journey and know that this is where I am going and this is what I must be able, this is what it takes in order for me to get to where I want to be able to get. So I want us to draw clear pictures, because when we get to evaluation, we are going to be able to connect the dots to where you want to get, okay? And some of it, you will have to take bold decisions. Some of it, you will have to take crazy decisions. To some people, you will look like you're a mad person. I looked like a mad person to my family. But after some time, they were like, we didn't know this thing would work, but Owange, she has kept in there. And from she has kept in there to them being the ones recommending for invitations. And now them asking for commissions. You get it? But you tarry in there, you stick in there, you make the bold decisions that need to be made in order to connect to where you want to actually get, okay? I know that we don't have so much time left, but I just wanted to make sure that we talk about complacency, because as we grow and we get to where we want to get, if we want to dominate, we are not going to be complacent, because success that is not attended to becomes failure. Now, even what you have attained right now, even where you are right now, must be maintained in order to be sustained. So that means every level you're going to get at, you have to be able to maintain. And maintenance is hard sometimes. Buying a car is easy, maintaining it, however, because you have to maintain it over a prolonged period of time, and you don't know where the expenses are going to come from, whether you're going to knock what, or a border person is going to bump into you, or a tire is, as in anything can happen. So maintenance sometimes is very hard. But sometimes when we achieve a certain level of success, when you achieve a certain amount or a certain number of followers, please do not be complacent. When you start doing videos and you start doing, and the videos are out and people like them, ask yourself, what can I do better? What can I do more? Because that is the maintenance that will sustain you in this industry. So any success that is unattended to quickly becomes failure. And I think there's a writer that says that success is not owned, it is rented, and its rent is due every day. Success is not owned, but it is rented. That means you are paying rent. It's not, there is no arrivism. There is no I have arrived. So you never arrive at anyone. Otherwise, I would have been at my home seated, sipping on a pina colada, and minding my own business. But let me tell you, to me, growth is every day. When it comes to reading, when it comes to my personal growth, when it comes to consulting, having conversations, building my mind, fortifying my mind, to me it's a daily, and I am no longer doing it to earn. But guess what? As a result of me building myself, the earning multiplies itself. So it becomes as a result. So I need you to be able to know that if you get results, just imagine, you go to gym, you build your body, right? As a bodybuilder. You've seen bodybuilders? Yes. When they stop, what happens? Sorry? Their bodies fall back. Like, while you're bunyama, they become what? Meat. When you try and work on your weight, and all of a sudden, you get to a place where, now, it seems things are good. You start celebrating. You're like, right now, you know, I can have a ice cream, I can have a chocolate, and the celebration takes longer than it should take. Where do you go back? You go back and step on the scale, and you're like, hey, I have added, do you know how quickly weight can come back? Like, in the past 1 week, I have added 10 kilos. You know, people don't know that. So you realize that whatever success you attain, it must be maintained in order to be sustained. So I need to ask you, whatever you have achieved right now, whatever you have achieved right now, and you can't tell me that you've not achieved anything. Some of you are in marriages. In order to sustain that marriage, you must maintain it. So ask yourself, how do I maintain it? Okay? Could be anything in your life. Look at your life. Where have you gained a little bit of success, or just success, and you're like, you know what, this is it. So I don't want you to be settled. I don't want you to say, you know what, I have arrived. Complacency is not something that should be. It could be your personal relationship with God. Just imagine, you take time, dig in. Some people in January, you know, they will look fasting and praying and reading the Bible and doing all those things. And then the month ended. All the proclaimed fasts stopped. They ended. What happened in February? some people are going further and further away from God. Like, they are going further and further away. Why? Because when you get a closeness, you must maintain it in order to sustain it. So it has to become a lifestyle. That means your growth has to become a lifestyle. Your brand has to become a lifestyle. You breathe it, you eat it, you sleep it, you think about it, it consumes you. Everyone that knows about you knows only for one thing, that this is what you do. That you're the go-to person. They want, when they ask anyone that who does this thing in this country, your name should come on top of the list. But do you think it just comes on top of the list? You work towards it. It's a process. But that means you never arrived prematurely, or you never killed your vision prematurely, okay? So don't celebrate too long, okay? And whatever has been obtained has to be sustained. So whatever you have obtained, make sure that you actually sustain, maintain, and make sure that you keep having it and bettering it and nurturing it in your life so that you can grow better and grow bigger, okay? And then when you go to planting in a garden, so many of us know that there is weeding. You don't just plant and then just say, you know what, everything is going to come out the way I expect it to come out. Some of you have ever built scarecrows, right? How many of you have built scarecrows? I know I'm talking to town dwellers and people who were born after. You've built scarecrows. Yeah, we would build scarecrows because you would get tired of staying in the garden as a young child to be there to chase monkeys all the time and birds. So you'll be like, you know what? Let's build a scarecrow. And so you will build something that looks like a person. And it must be big enough that the head is visible, that the arms are visible, because monkeys are also wise. When they find, you just put a tree, sure. They know, they differentiate. But when they see hands, and they see a head, and they see a body, then they're like, that's a human being. But let me tell you, will that even stop the monkeys? The monkeys would even come and shake the square. I don't know where you come from, but I think the monkeys in our village were very wise. Okay? But the thing is, the reason as to why people build scarecrows is because there was maintenance to be done. That they didn't just plant and say, you know what, let's wait for harvest season so that we can go back and harvest. No. They had to know that they had to weed, and when the time comes and there is a promise of a harvest, then they have to put the scarecrows, as in it was all about maintenance. But some of us are waiting for the harvest. We just believe things are going to work themselves out here. We believe in miracles. Let me tell you, God is still doing miracles, but not miracles of building brands. He is in the miracle of accelerating the brands that are being built, but not building He expects you to get your hands dirty. He expects you to change and turn you know how you cook and you're like, you know what, this is what I want to cook. I want to cook this kind of rice. And then you cook, neguberamu amazi amangi. And then you cook, amazi negatawira. And then you cook until you're like, you know what, this is the perfect rice that I have cooked. But over time, now that is how a brand is built. And in a minute, we're going to be able to take questions to know exactly what we are building, where we are in the building process, and how to be able to build vividly with vivid examples so that we know that we must be able to, number one, build, maintain, and not just sustain, but sustain in an incremental way. That it is not stagnant, because whatever is stagnant becomes stagnant after some time, it dies. But a brand has to be a living brand, that it grows and grows and grows, and it outgrows you. And that is when you leave a legacy for others to be able to even grow your brand a little more. Miles Monroe is not around, but you see his videos being posted everywhere. And it sounds like the guy is still alive. When you're watching him, do you feel he's dead? He doesn't feel dead. He's talking about current things. How many years ago did he die? So he is a living legend and a living brand that still talks about things that we go through, and things that, and his videos 100 years from now, they'll still be relevant. Okay? Are you any different from him? No. You were created in God's image, and you have power within you. You are gifted beyond your wildest imaginations. But once that gift is not nurtured, and it is not watered, and it is not maintained, then you forget about the gift. And you become frustrated for the rest of your life, okay?